it's a good time to start off our Plant Science Symposium. So I would like to welcome everyone to the 6th Annual Plant Science Symposium. My name is Josh Anderson, and I am the current president of the Plant Science Council here at the University of Florida. I am also joined by Sudeep.
Hi, everyone.
Who is our vice president. Plant Science Council at the University of Florida is formed by undergraduate students, graduate students, and postdocs studying or interested in plant science, research, breeding, and extension. The Plant Science Symposia Series is a global network of student-organized and student-driven scientific symposia. These events are hosted by leading academic and research institutions around the world, all sponsored by Corteva Agriscience. The company currently supports as many as 40 events every year as a key program in its commitment to academic outreach for the next generation of agricultural leaders. These symposia provide opportunities for the next generation of scientists to explore their interest in the plant sciences by inviting and hosting experts from private industry and public institutions on topics of their choosing. The theme for our symposium this year is breeding for climate change and stress-resilient agriculture. The goal is to explore how plant breeding and science can position agriculture to be resilient to future climate threats. Currently, climate change has garnered the attention of public and private interests worldwide, mostly due, or in large part due to the increase of and volatility in natural weather events. A volatile climate is always a looming threat to agricultural crops, though climate change may affect some crops more than others. Yet the study of this topic is often plagued with controversy and political tensions. Scientists are specially geared to deal with climate change scenarios, but applying the changes needed to maintain sustainability within a biological and social system is difficult. We may not be able to solve all the world's issues, but our symposium hopes to explore this niche topic of breeding for plant stress resilience and learn about the work being done by leading professionals who are on the cutting edge of targeted plant improvement for stress resilience. Our speakers come from both the public and private sectors from around the country, and they will present examples of the impact of climate change, case studies of plant improvement, and show what can be done by scientists to contribute to a resilient agricultural system. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this will be our second year of hosting our symposium completely online. We have well over 370 attendees registered, and the silver lining, as you can see, to being online is the ease of allowing a large number of people to connect, and from anywhere in the world. This is appropriate since climate change is happening the world over. Now, a few housekeeping items. Please use the hashtag UFPlants22 for your social media interactions during the symposium. Please see our website at www.ufplants.org for the program details and to learn more about our professional speakers. We are also streaming live on our YouTube channel, the UF Plant Science Council. This afternoon, we will also be having 4 student speakers who are competitively chosen to give 15-minute presentations. During the talks today, please type your questions in the Q&A tab of the Zoom window and not the chat, and then also write down to who the question is for. Later this evening, we will be hosting a networking session at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. That will allow attendees to get to know each other a little better and ask further questions to our invited speakers. And now, I welcome all of you to listen and learn with me as we tune in to the presentations today and tomorrow. For my first introduction today, it is my honor to introduce, let me make sure I can spotlight. It is my honor to introduce the University of Florida's Vice President of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Dr. Scott Engel. Dr. Engel has led the UF Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, or as we know it, UF-IFAS, since July 2020. and he previously led the United States Department of Agriculture's National Institute of Food and Agriculture, where he helped establish funding priorities for agriculture and natural resources research. He has also done extensive work in Africa and Asia as president and CEO of the International Fertilizer Development Center, a nonprofit that delivers sustainable solutions for soil health, food security, and livelihoods. Dr. Engel's tenure at UF-IFAS has so far been highlighted by an investment in artificial intelligence applied to agriculture and natural resource science, expansion of experimental learning, a commitment to more diverse faculty, staff, and student body, and the prioritization of research focused on monitoring and increasing ecosystem services delivered by the state's agricultural landscapes. It was just announced yesterday, the 26th of January, that Dr. Engel has been elected a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which is a great honor. And as a great leader for one of our nation's top agricultural institutions, welcome, Dr. Engel.
Well, thank you. It's really very much my pleasure to be with you today. I do have some prepared comments I would like to make, but first I'd like to thank also all of the students and organizers of this conference coming together to share ideas, to get to know each other. This is a fundamental aspect of science. Science is relationship-based because so much of the good science, the good thinking comes from those relationships. And so while we can't be in person doing this, this is the next best thing. And I know we all look forward to next year when hopefully we are together. And I also want to thank Corteva for having the interest and the foresight to help support this meeting. We all understand the challenges that we face. We are in this together, whether it's a business like Corteva, universities like the University of Florida, nonprofits, or the government like I used to be a part of. We all have a part of the solution that we are responsible for. And by working together, we will help move the needle more quickly forward. So Jason and Corteva, thank you for being a part of this. We're truly indebted to you for your support, and ultimately also for the students that you will hire someday. You're going to see some great students here today. I do want to begin from a somewhat of a historical perspective and then work my way through how we have progressed in particularly the plant breeding area as it becomes integrated with climate sciences. But it really very much goes back to Abraham Lincoln. As probably some of you know, Abraham Lincoln was the only American president to hold a patent. He also could coin a phrase, and it's something that you've heard before. He was the one who said, and many people don't know this, but he was the one who said the best way to predict the future is to create it. So I wanted to participate in the symposium today because that's what's going on here. You're figuring out how to create your own future. You're already heavily committed to the research and dissertations and mentorships to become industry professionals and academics. You're even, frankly, doing more than that. You're figuring out how to create everyone's future. You're transforming yourselves into leaders who will create the future by feeding the world, which is so important. I had the opportunity to live and work in Africa for a couple of years, and I saw firsthand the challenges that we have, and you are very much a part of that future. You're in a special place, as I just said, at a crucial time. After decades of striving to increase its stature, the University of Florida has recently been recognized for the first time ever as one of the top 5 public universities in the nation. A ranking doesn't really matter that much, although it did to Lincoln. When he signed the Morrill Act during the Civil War, he created the land-grant university system. The University of Florida and later Florida A&M became our state's land-grant universities. What that does mean is that we are the people's universities, dedicated to bringing the the masses knowledge and opportunity that previously was limited largely to the elite, or to, here in the South, to the landed gentry. And it means that we directly address the challenges faced daily by the 22 million residents of Florida and the people of the United States and the billions of people in the world. Of course, there are billions more to come. You've heard the projections, 9 to 10 billion people. I'm now even hearing we may have 10.5 to 11 billion people on this planet by mid-century. A need to double food production over the next 30 years than we have, and it's more food than we have ever produced in the last 10,000 year history of our agriculture. Previous generations threw resources at the challenge, and the main resource that was thrown at it was land. It worked, but at a cost. Acceleration of climate change is one of those costs. Converting more wilderness into agriculture continues the acceleration, and as you know, it can destroy biodiversity. Bringing more land to production can also violate the rights of indigenous populations and exacerbate inequalities. You will never meet a more fervent champion of the land grant system than I, but I have to acknowledge the critics who call us the land grab university system. They point out that this very university was founded in part on the appropriation and sale of land from oppressed peoples. Today, we know social justice has to be a part of the solutions we deliver, or we haven't really delivered a solution at all. We've just transferred one problem for another. In any case, we have, in my opinion, run out of runway when it comes to land. We're already cultivated the world's best arable lands, and we can't continue to destroy the lungs of our planet by clearing more tropical rainforest in Brazil. Australia, candidly, is too dry to sustainably expand much more food production, nor do China and India have the ability to grow much more food. Europe's approach to sustainability through organic production won't, frankly, allow them to grow a whole lot more food. So really, in many ways, it comes down to North America, to us. This is where a lot of the future success has to happen. And much of it has to happen here directly in the southeastern part of the US. You can't go too far north, it's just too cold, and you can't grow 2 or 3 crops a year like you can in Florida. And out west, the bathtub rings that we see on Lakes Mead and Powell testify to how the West is running out of water. The Midwest, too, has its own water challenges. So it's the Southeast, it's us. Even in this region, Florida is very special. We have a relatively ample water supply that's attracted West Coast investors to our farmland. Our tropical and subtropical climate has similarities to that in regions of the world where we expect the greatest population growth in coming decades, such as Africa. Now, Florida has a tremendous responsibility for saving billions from starvation or malnutrition without destroying the environment. This is an incredible hurdle for us. We can do that with the food we invent through breeding. So what you are doing through your plant breeding efforts especially are incredibly important to the future success and our ability to feed a growing population on this planet. So how to increase yields and intensify production? Again, previously, this was a question throwing more inputs at the problem. Things like what land, as I mentioned, water and chemicals, and fertilizers. I'm a big believer in fertilizer. I spent a part of my career leading the International Fertilizer Development Center nonprofit that helped educate smallholder farmers in Africa and Asia in the proper use of nutrients. And I saw time and time after again how a small increase in fertilizer, sometimes just $20 or $30 bag of fertilizer to be used on that smallholder farm, lifted people out of poverty. It nourished the children who otherwise would have been stunted. It produced more income. That meant millions more children could get into education or achieve their full potential. So I really very much consider myself a discipline of Norman Borlaug, who used more nutrients as a tool to save lives. But your generation, very honestly, doesn't have that luxury. We're probably going to have less land to grow food in the next 50 years than we have today. And we are certainly going to have less water than we do today to grow that same food. The only way that we can double food production with diminishing land and water is through technology. And that's what all of you are studying here at the University of Florida and previously in other places. Technology is going to give a boost to breeding. There's no doubt about that. As a former director of USDA's NIFA, the National Institute of food and agricultural sciences, I became familiar with the work of land-grant universities everywhere in the country. You're fortunate to be at what I would argue to be the nation's leading university-based plant breeding program. There is some incredible work going on here. And as I just said, I think much of the future ability to grow more food will happen with what you are being taught here and the work that you will do in the future. This is a place where you're growing into scientists who will make that impact, who will predict the future by creating it, as Abraham Lincoln suggested. We're a specialty crop state that produces over 300 commodities now, and there are boundless opportunities to do more work here. The University of Florida Plant Breeding Program has 27 faculty members who work on over 50 crops. There will be more of that in the future. These men and women, actually almost all of them are men, and that's a topic for another talk, have in the past decade licensed more than 1,600 cultivars into our system. We reinvest the revenue from those licenses back into innovation that more aggressively than any other university in the country. You can see this in bricks and mortar. We built an ag tech workshop at our research center south of Tampa in Baum, and we'll soon finish a blueberry lab behind Fifield, which we're affectionately calling the Extension Training Center that's the house that Blueberries built. Our three-part land-grant mission of teaching, outreach, and research is why we're so effective. First of all, there's the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. We're not a university unless we're educating. That's the main reason why we are here doing what we're doing. We have 14 academic departments and more than 24 graduate programs, many of which touch our plant sciences program. We're at a record enrollment of 7,000 undergraduate and graduate students. Graduate students are also the Army that spend long hours in labs in the field and greenhouses. This is where most of the research at a land-grant university is done. Our People's University identity is perhaps more directly expressed through extension. It's our outreach function that dispatches UF-IFAS faculty in our offices in all 67 counties to deliver science that provides local solutions. It ensures our relevancy. That outreach is a two-way street, indeed. Farmers share their observations and questions that make their way back to the laboratory. The feedback loop tells us what problems we need to focus on and sometimes suggests possible solutions that we hadn't considered in the laboratory. It's a great way to keep our feet to the fire. Another word on our connection with growers. 3 years ago, UF-IFAS partnered with a nonprofit called Solutions from the Land to gather growers for a conversation on how we can change agriculture to make it a source of climate solutions and to make farmers more resilient in the face of climate change and to make them part of the future solution. The result here is the Florida Climate Smart Ag Group. It's a producer-led group that has inspired our efforts to acquire funding to use artificial intelligence to quantify ecosystem services delivered by our farms, our forests, and our ranches. We've begun the discussions about how to get more students involved in this work. If you'd like to know more about it, contact me directly, and I can put you in touch with some of the leaders of this group. In addition to teaching that we have here at the university, many of you know we have what's called the Agricultural Experiment Station. Don't be fooled by the singular noun. We have 12 research and education centers scattered across the state. And we have plant breeding faculty at 6 of these research and education centers, the RECs, where many of you are probably today, in addition to all of our work in Gainesville. Collectively, the University of Florida celebrates the fact that UF ranks #1 in terms of federal funding for ag and natural resources funding. This is a time of immense opportunity at UF and IFAS, and we didn't seek top 5 status for bragging rights. We did it because success begets success. A reputation as one of the nation's top universities attracts talent. That propels us to greater success, boosts our stature, attracts more talent like you, and so on in a virtuous loop. It's part of how you got here. We've doubled down not on land, but on intelligence, and that would be artificial intelligence in our case. UF is making an $80 million investment in becoming the nation's leading university for artificial intelligence. That means the fastest AI supercomputer in higher education, construction of a huge new data center here on campus, and hiring of 100 more faculty focused exclusively on AI at the University of Florida. And a large number of these will be in the agriculture and natural resources area. Now, with all due respect to medicine and engineering, nowhere will this make a greater impact than in agriculture. First of all, we're a little bit lagging as a sector of agriculture. It's been exceedingly difficult to apply AI to food production. But what that means is that we have a great opportunity to move the needle forward. In fact, we see AI as the fourth revolution in agriculture. The first was mechanization, embodied by the use of the tractor and other implements. And then came chemicals, fertilizers, and pesticides. The third was the emergence of genetics and genomics that has made plant and animal breeding so much more effective. AI will be that fourth generation. Better, smarter machines, more precise application of chemicals, and reduced environmental impact. Improve plant breeding as we learn how to sift through data to identify the most promising potential cultivars among tens of thousands that we have to go through. This is the way forward, not more land. Progress will depend on technology and great minds like yours. AI is going to be one of the primary tools that gets us there, and you're going to be the ones who will be wielding that new technology. University of Florida, IFAS, has been allocated dozens of new AI positions. People like Kevin Wang started on October 1st, and Dana Choi started this month at a research center in Baum. And they're already talking about how to keep the tomato industry alive in Florida by mechanizing the harvest and breeding tomatoes that will hold up to the picking by machine. They have visions of reducing production costs for strawberries by breeding plants with fewer runners that require labor-intensive pruning. We launched a plant breeding PhD program back in August that equips its students with horticulture, agronomy, soil science, and more knowledge and technology. And if I'm not mistaken, Sadup, you're the vice president. You are the vice president. In a couple of years, he'll be Dr. Sadup Kunwar, and he and his cohort will be the first ever plant breeding PhDs from the University of Florida. So to you and to your fellow students who are in that program, congratulations, and we're very excited about your future. And what then? Well, I expect you'll start to change the world along with the rest of you. Not 20 years from now. Remember, I was just talking about Dr. Choi and the AI revolution in agriculture. Less than 5 years ago, she was one of you. She was a student in the University of IFAS and was a graduate student. So she already is making a difference that we know that you will make in the future. And so was one of your advisors, Stefan Rios, through forage breeding. He's contributing to efforts to double food production. And if he can create varieties that provide ranches with year-round forages so that they do not have to import feed and forage material, think of the reduced impact on the planet of not having to produce that feed or the carbon miles saved in transporting it from another part of the world. Take today, for example. I want to end up by saying thank you again to Corteva for sponsoring today's symposium. In addition to that, I want to thank Corteva for supporting our researchers and our students. And industry provides valuable real-world experience for our students. And without that, we can give them all the good book knowledge and the work in the laboratory. But working with industry, those industries that will take the technologies out into the field, make them commercially viable and productive. That's where the rubber very much hits the road. And so we are very much indebted to our relationship with Corteva and other companies like them for allowing IFAS to become a great source of graduates for your industry. When I was the NIFA director, just one final comment, I did have the opportunity to work with Scott Hutchins, and he's not with us today, but he was the director of research at Corteva. He was the chief scientist for the USDA, and so I reported directly to him. And through many, many hours of discussion about Corteva, its goals, its mission, and I came away very much impressed with the company and all that it does for our country and the world. We're very much indebted to you. not just for sponsoring the symposium, not just for hiring our graduates, but for the broad global perspective you take in making this world a better place. The Plant Science Council and symposium like today's are where the future is going to happen. Congratulations on putting together such an impressive agenda. On behalf of the billions of people who need to be fed, good luck in creating that future. So thanks very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. And I'll be back. I have a few other meetings today, but I will be jumping in and out to be a part of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice President Dr.
Go ahead,
Engel,
Sandeep.
for your encouraging words. So we are joined today by the Academic Relation Manager at Corteva AgriScience, Dr. Jason Rosser. We will save his opening remarks for tomorrow morning.
Yep, I just want to say thank you to Scott and look forward to the next 2 days. We're going to have a great symposium here, as always, at Florida, and I will give my introductory remarks tomorrow at the start of our second day. So please wake up early and join us early tomorrow as well.
Thank you, Dr. Jason.